Marcus Rashford paid £700,000 for this Rolls Royce, and this bumper alone is worth £30,000. That's because this Rolls Royce is a Mansory edition, and we've learnt that that's extortionately expensive.
2,900, 12 grand. 1,300.
What for that? I was in huge trouble. These Mansory parts are made in-house. Full carbon fibre body kits, full interior trims, which not only makes them expensive, it makes them desirable for the mega rich. But these are the parts on my Rolls Royce which makes it so expensive, so we're gonna have to replace them. Okay, we need a plan here. I've already bought Sue, an older model Rolls Royce that we use for parts to fix my one, and this seemed to work so far. But unfortunately for me, it's the Mansory parts which we're missing to finally finish this Rolls Royce off. But today, we've got them. For a while now, we've been trying to get a solid brake pedal in the Rolls Royce by getting all the air out of the brake system. On a regular car, it would just be the case of bleeding the brakes by cracking off the brake nipples on each corner of the brake system. But on the Rolls Royce, it's much more complex.
Let's see the brake lines here, before they go back up, they go into that, and I think the air's in that. There's got to be a way we can turn that on.
And Rolls Royce actually told us we need a special tool to do it.
We need your help as always.
But there was a chance that we might be able to do it without that tool. And in the last video, we thought we'd done it. Oh! Oh!
Yeah?
Yeah! Yeah, go on! Until we took it for a drive and we lost all brakes again.
I've got no brakes! Oh my god!
I've completely lost it.
So then...
Okay, this is what we're gonna have to do. We're going for the same as last time, but this time we've got a secret recipe. Florin. In this bag is gonna be the secret of getting the brakes on this car. Everything we've learned on Rolls Royce is really anti-DIY mechanic, even down to bleeding the brakes. So this computer needs to be plugged in to the car to tell the ABS pump to open up all the valves to let out all the air of the system. It's a complicated procedure, but hopefully we get the last remaining bits of air out of the brakes.
Were you driving it around with no brakes?
Yeah.
That's really dangerous.
You don't need brakes where I'm going.
That's true.
Into a lamppost.
First step is to attach Mr. Push, which uses air from the tyre to push brake fluid around the system.
Are we using Valvoline brake fluid?
We only use Valvoline brake fluid.
We do.
Because it's the best.
Now there's pressure being put through all of the brake system. We can start to remove each wheel on every corner. But unlike last time, now we've got the Rolls Royce diagnostic tool. This can now tell the ABS pump to open and close the valves, which hopefully is going to release all of that air out of the system. And whilst it's doing that, we've got to go to each brake caliper and crack the bleed nipple off to let all the air out of the braking system. And we do that till there's none left. Do you want to hear the news?
Let's hear the news.
Brake pedal is
Solid.
rock hard.
Rock hard. Oh. Wow. There's now no air in the system, so when it's pushing the brake pedal down, we're not compressing air anymore, we're compressing fluid. Well, we're compressing hydraulic fluid, to be precise, which you can't compress, it's like that. When you compress air, it's more like this. Now we finally have a brake pedal. We're almost looking like Rolls Royce techs now. But now that that job's out the way, we've got another one to get onto. I had a bit of a boo-boo because we had the rear glass out and then I left the car outside and it rained. So all of this
Oh my.
is now wet. So I want to put the full interior back in today, which means I've got to do two things to do so. One, replace all of this now because it's soaking and my rear glass would just fog up all the time if I left this in. So this is going to be replaced, but also check this out. These hinges actually bolt in from the rear parcel shelves. That's where they are, they're hidden. So you have to take the whole rear parcel shelf out, rear seats, everything, to get to those bolts down there to take those hinges out. So that means I can't put the interior in because the body shop would have to take it all back out just to paint that. So we're gonna paint it ourselves. To remove this sound deadening on the rear parcel shelf, we've got to remove everything that sort of sits on top of it, including the 2 seat belts each side, then all the wiring that clips to the top of it as well, and then there's a bunch more sensors which we have no idea what they do. After that, we can lift it out.
Next up, let's get these boot hinges out. Why would they not put them the other way around?
Firstly, I'm going to remove the bolts which hold the hinge to the boot lid. There's 3 on each side, then me and Matt can lift it off.
My plan is to paint 2, just in case we don't get the exact finish. But if we at least paint 2, we know that they're both painted by us, so they will match.
Now I can start undoing the 4 bolts which bolt the hinge to the rear parcel shelf. And once I've taken off them, I can pull the hinge out the way, unclip it from the spring which holds the boot up, and then slide through all the wiring which goes to the boot lid.
1 hinge, I'd say that's been painted on the car. I reckon they'd put that in like that because, look, that's not been painted. So this has all been bolted in, and they've painted the whole car with these in.
So we're making it better.
We are actually improving it, or we are making it heavier.
And of course, I've got to do the same for the other side. Remember, we've only replaced 1 hinge because that left hinge was bent, causing the boot lid not to align properly. And then to paint it, I'm going to rough them up with a bit of Scotch pad, which will give it this matte look finish. Then I can apply the paint.
Welcome to my paint booth. This is where we paint Rolls-Royce hinges. Here's the paint. Off we go.
The body shop mixed up the paint for me, and I was just going to do my best to make it as OEM as possible. And once I've applied the paint, my dad can go over it with some lacquer.
Welcome to my body shop.
You wouldn't even know which one was the painted one and which one wasn't. So that goes in. We've got to align this all up, haven't we? There's loads of movement.
With both hinges now painted, we can refit them back to the car and then fit the boot lid on top, remembering to fit all the little shims which go between the hinges and the boot lid as well. Then we've just got to line it all up.
Okay, now we've got to line it up to make sure it is absolutely sensational, because as soon as we put the interior in, there's no turning back.
Mine's spot on.
Yeah, I think that is
10,
good.
10.
I think that is good.
10, 10 mine is.
In your opinion, it is.
And then with a bit of adjustment, I also got mine 10 out of 10 as well. That's another job ticked off the list.
What? I just want to stop it right here. This is a message to Marcus Rashford. I know that you spec this car, okay? I do really like it. But one thing that I can't get my head around is, Marcus, you've made a blue dashboard on the top here, which gets a lot of glare from the windscreen, so it's quite hard to see out. But you've failed to do a blue parcel shelf. I don't know whether that was you or whether that was Mansory, but why would you do one and not the other?
You'll see exactly what I mean in a minute. I've just got to refit the new sound deadening which we took off Sue, which is nice and dry. Then I can reinstall the seat belts, all the wiring, and then finally the black parcel shelf. Remembering to connect up the connections for the speakers on the back. But I just feel that everything else is blue in the car, why not do the rear parcel shelf as well?
Next up, the door card. Well, it's not a door card, it's a rear quarter card.
It's really tricky working in the back of this car as there's not too much space. And again, I want to be really careful not to damage any of this because this is fully custom Mansory interior. And if anything does get damaged, I can bet my life on it, it's super expensive.
Wow. Aquarium.
That's one side in. Now we've got to move to the other side. The exact same process.
Next thing, it's the seats. £33,000, I think it was, this interior is. And look at it. Some would argue that it is not very nice. Some would argue that it is very nice.
Now £33,000 is insanely expensive for an interior, but in my opinion, it does feel really good quality.
Bentley only uses leather from balls for upholstery because they don't get stretch marks.
Same with Rolls-Royce.
Oh, really?
Only balls from cold climates to avoid insect bite marks, and no American balls to avoid barbed wire cuts. That's crazy. So this is only made from ball leather.
But this is Mansory, not
Oh yeah,
Rolls-Royce.
that could be like proper bougie balls though, couldn't it?
Bougie balls.
Yeah.
If you guys could smell this leather, then you'd probably agree it's pretty good quality. Everything feels brand new. But I guess the car has only done around 1,000 miles. I'm nearly there now, just putting in the final piece of the rear bench. And that is job done with the seats. This is the door off Sue. So we're going to put on the door card as well, so we've got a complete interior. Now, the body shop will have to take this back off. Well, actually, I'm going to be painting this as well with the body shop, so I will have to take it back off because we're going to paint the inside of the door to it all match. But we might as well put this on so it's nice and complete and we know where everything is and it's not lying around the workshop until paint. It's quite easy to do there.
You don't say words like that, do you?
Come on then.
What, easy?
You say after you fitted it. That was quite easy, not before you fit it.
So this is the wiring loom which is attached to Sue's door, and we've kept it. And this is the wiring loom attached to the Rashford door. But we've noticed one difference, which is these electrical connections for the Mansory puddle light. So we're gonna have to change it.
Look, see how there, different coloured, red, blue, yellow. Red for red. You get blue connectors and yellow
actually real?
connectors. Yes.
I didn't know that.
Did you not know that?
No. Some people will be like, why are you not soldering it? F1 teams don't solder because solder gets brittle and breaks, whereas the crimping things are way more reliable.
I'm not sure we're quite at the level of F1 teams at the minute, but if F1 teams do it, I can't see it harming a Rolls Royce. We've got to crimp on these connectors for the Mansory puddle light, and once that's done we can connect them to the puddle light in the door card along with all the other connectors in the door card as well. And once that's done we can line up the door card to the door and start fitting the door handle, remembering to connect up the cable.
For me now, there ain't no satisfaction for me now. There ain't no satisfaction for me now.
And as things go on the Rolls Royce, the door card is probably one of the easier jobs. Last little bit to fit, the armrest, which just clips into place. And that is that done.
Interior in, looking good. Let's move some bodywork. Let's get this front bumper back on after it's been for a repair, which you would have seen in the second channel. 3, 2, 1. Front bumper is on with the grille. It's not the final fit. We've still got some alignment to do. And we're going to finally get to fit the Mansory full carbon fibre wing later in the video when we unbox all the Mansory stuff. But come to the back, come to the back. There's a few things left to do. One, including the rear screen. But two, we haven't actually taken off this rear bumper yet. And I just want to see whether there is any damage behind it because we've got the Mansory bumper as well. This thing is full. I want to say it's carbon fibre, but let's get this stripped off, and if it's all good, we will be able to see what we're doing next. We're a bit in a weird situation right now. It's a bit between finished and unfinished. We don't know what we need to put on to take off. We're not sure. We're trying to get as far as we can. Let's get it in the ramp. Let's get its bumper off, assess the damages.
But before I got onto the rear bumper, Screensaver come and took the glass out of Sue. But I wanted to remove the tint from it, which seemed harder than first thought. It was leaving a lot of adhesive on the screen. So I had to call Jimmy in with his steamer so we could peel the tint off without leaving that residue on the screen. And so far it was working.
You look like a minion, where you got that from?
It was a gift.
Now the rear screen has no tint. For me, I just think if someone spent £33,000 on an interior, you've got to show it off. Now the guys at Screensaver have come, laying down the adhesive for the screen, and we can line it all in place and send it to its home. After that, I've got to get in the car and plug in the aerial, because the aerial for the radio is actually inside the rear screen.
It's coming together.
Now the car can go in the air, so we can start taking off that rear bumper and check the damage which is underneath it. I've got to remove part of the arch lining so we can access the bolts for the rear bumper, and finally we can get it off.
Do you know what's a bit mad? How much is this bumper?
20 grand.
It's like 20 grand. You can't even use the towing arm because
What?
it's glued in. Sorry, I take that back. It's double-sided sticky taped on.
Mansory edition.
No words. Well, the good news is,
Looks a bit of a mess.
I can see where the lamppost hit. And it only looks like it's damaged the crash bar. But we can only be sure once we remove it. Off. And it looks... Oh, I think there's damage to this. There was damage to this. And this is the air tank used to store the air for the air suspension. And it stores a lot of air at high pressure, so we don't want to risk keeping this on the car. So it looks like this is the tank, which holds the air, and this is a compressor behind it, which compresses the air, and this is where the air comes from. The question is there going to be air in this? Well, we're about to find out, because I'm loosening the line. Whoa! Wow! Whoa!
Swallow!
I'm not sure that's how Rolls-Royce would have removed it, but either way, it did the job, and I've got the other air tank that we can use in replacement for the damaged one. Luckily, it's exactly the same. I don't think they changed much throughout the years. Once that new air tank's in, I can attach the sensors and the air lines, and that is job done there. This BMW cost me £30,000, and these Mansory parts cost me £40,000. But without these Mansory parts, we can't call it a Mansory Rolls-Royce. So I had no choice. All of this stuff is one of one. It's built to order. You can see here a full carbon fibre wing, which was €9,900. Let's start off with the front, and then it'll finally look kind of like complete. So, front wing. Here's the new front wing, and here's the one that come off the car. There was no doubt that it needed replacing, but we do have to do a few things first, like taking the door handle light off Sue's old wing. Oh, mechanic! We've then got to fit all of this stuff onto the new Mansory wing, which we realised needed some modification to fit. We've now got to drill holes in this €9,000 wing so we can fit riv nuts in there, which will allow us to thread in the bolts which hold the door handle light onto it. This is like buying an £80,000 Rolex and then having to build it yourself. Anything that I mess up now could be crucial. The last thing I want to do is damage one of these one-of-one wings. So I'm double and triple checking whatever holes that I drill line up perfectly. And once I've fitted the bracket, my dad can then line up the LED light and the chrome trim which goes around it to the wing. But that's not all. There's no hole here, but on Sue's wing, there's a huge hole. So now I've got to use my Dremel to cut out a big hole to allow the side repeater to actually clip into place on this wing. More drilling and cutting. But after I've cut the holes, it fitted quite nicely. Beat. Oh, yes. Can't believe we had to cut it out ourselves, but that is in. Side repeater's in. Door handle's in. Just these parts to go, but we don't want to install these yet because the painter's going to have to paint over them. Next step, fitting it to the car. It's one thing buying the parts, it's another thing fitting them all. And we've come to the conclusion that the majority of the price Mansory charge is actually labour cost, because the additional parts don't add up to the extra $300,000 Rashford paid for the car. I don't think we're far off. It's looking really good now. Like the fact that this isn't that far off the colour gives you, like, you know, when you blur your eyes. Not far off. It's not far off. Rashford paid £700,000 for the Rolls-Royce, which without the Mansory parts would be worth around $350,000. But we think there's just over £100,000 worth of Mansory parts on there, which would mean the rest is all labour costs. Maybe I'm wrong. It's on. It's not a final fit, and there is a few adjustments to make. If it was, say, a Lamborghini, I'd be pretty happy right now, but because it's a Rolls-Royce, it's got to be absolutely spot on. There's a few little lines and everything I've got to move. I'd like this to be smaller. I'd like this gap in the bumper just to be a little bit more flush. I'd like there to be no gap around there. But I've fitted worse body kits, and like with the lights on, that looks absolutely crazy. Like, but as you would have seen, I've fit in here the umbrella slot. And as we all know, Rashford has stole our umbrella. He's still got it somewhere. Allegedly. But, check this out. It's a big moment. Yeah! We got 2 umbrellas. And guess what? They're from a subscriber who's, I think, long-term borrowing them from Rolls-Royce. Mansory don't actually do umbrellas. So, like, I thought the reason why these umbrellas have been stolen, they would have been Mansory umbrellas, which would have been worth, like, 20 grand or something. But they don't do their own umbrellas. So, what are you doing, Mansory? Make your own umbrellas. These are Rolls-Royce ones. And, not only that, I'm not going to open it, bad luck, but they are grey to match the paint. Let's see if they fit. Oh! Yes! Next up, we're fitting a side skirt worth €8,400, which was actually tiger sealed on at the back.
Yeah.
Oh my days!
That
That is literally a full bottle of tiger seal on that. So we know how to fit it now, though.
Tiger seal.
Yeah,
And lots
full.
of it.
Now, if you actually check this car out on Car Vertical, you'll see there's a few little hidden secrets. I can see there's literally only been one owner of this car, and you can also now see the number plate I've chosen to put on it. I think that's pretty cool. As usual, some of the Mansory parts needed a little bit of modification for it to fit just right, but we're almost getting there now. It's nearly in. Another thing you can see on Car Vertical is, if you check a car out that's been previously registered as being involved in an accident, you might actually see the photos of when it was auctioned off at the car crash auction site. It will tell you whether a car's ever been previously damaged, whether it's got outstanding finance, or had any mileage rollbacks on as well. Oh, that's better, isn't it?
It's in.
That's better. Oh, it's a lovely fitment right there. Perfect. Oh, then there's a hole to drill here, wasn't there? One final hole to drill in the €8,000 side skirt, and that should just about do it.
Show them.
We're in. And the hole lines up perfectly for a bolt. Now, on top of the side skirt costing €8,400, the extra forged carbon fibre piece which sticks over the top of it costs €2,900. You can see how all these parts add up. But again, going back to the Car Vertical check, we can see that this car's only done just over 1,000 miles. So effectively, at the end, we'll have pretty much a brand new Rolls-Royce with all of the Mansory parts on it as well. So I think it should hold some pretty good value. Last thing to go on is the door latch, and that's job done. So, to check your car out, a friend's car, or a car that you're potentially about to buy, click the link in the description box below. Use my code for 20% off the check as well. And thank me later when you find some hidden history about the car that you didn't quite know about. I think it needs to close a... Oh no. Oh, it's about on. It ain't far off. I think the wing could probably come out a bit at the top. It's not far off. It is not far off for a first go. Side skirt's looking good. Oh yes.
She's coming along now.
It's not...
Get in there.
It's not bad. That is on, apart from our aero bits and everything that have got to go on the bottom, and then also the little grill that goes in there. And the fitment, the first fit isn't actually too bad. It's good enough to paint, and then we can we'll do all the adjustment afterwards. But we've drilled all the holes that we need to, which is good news. On to the back. Okay. There's a lot of wires behind here, some for parking sensors and some for other things we're not sure about. We think that's exhaust valves, but we're going to try and figure that out. Why you've got an F1 rain light on a Rolls-Royce Wraith, I don't know, but that's how Rashford spec'd it, so we're going to have it exactly how he spec'd it, with a F1 rain light, because he was Max Verstappen in on the way home. Before we fit anything, we want to make sure that that rain light actually works. So my dad's repairing the wires which go to it, which is now done. Then he's got to replace the electrical plug which goes to the F1 light as well. Pulling out the pins and then putting on a brand new plug which was supplied with the F1 light. Let's test my dad's wiring now, because there is multiple factors why this might not work. And the multiple factors might be the multiple things we've left unplugged in here, like ground wires and... What the hell is that? That one's got like a Cyclops light in it. Press the brakes.
Come on, please work.
Brake on. Oh my god!
No, it flashes.
No, it's a rain light. Wow! That's how you're supposed to do it. No, you can't have that.
That looks terrible.
They're like that.
No, that's terrible.
Do you reckon it is? I have seen it like that.
F1 lights, they
do
don't
flash,
but they don't have brake lights. It's energy gain, isn't it? That's what it is.
So what, am I gaining energy by doing that? Yeah, it is. Luckily, I found a switch in the boot which was for that rain light, and it changes the different modes which the rain light actually flashes. Brake on.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's a slow flash.
Slow flash.
I think that's it.
Let your foot off the brake. Yes! Foot on. Yes! No
that's
more
way
fix. I don't know whether that should be on a Rolls Royce in my opinion, but I don't know. There's one thing for sure, and that's there's not many people with a rain light on a Rolls Royce. Next thing I'm fitting is this little sensor which clips to the bottom of the diffuser. And we think this is actually a sensor for kicking your foot underneath the car to open the boot. Ta-da! Just like that. Whether it works or not, I guess we'll find out when we build the car up. But there is quite a strange thing about this Mansory diffuser. Instead of making a whole new diffuser, we do anti-weight saving by adding this diffuser on top of the other one. I can't believe that's what they do. Well, you can't really notice it from the top.
It looks alright from the top.
Yeah, you can't really notice it from the top. So that gets tiger sealed in with Mansory's favourite tool. But on top of that, the wire has got to find a way through. So they've just, well, someone's just chewed a hole through that. And then this goes through, and this is the plug for the F1 light. So we've got to drill a hole and tiger seal that on to get this all to work. Full tub of tiger seal in there.
Oh
So not only do you pay €9,400 for a rear bumper, you then pay an extra €4,800 for the stick-on diffuser to go over the top of it. I've then got to drill the hole out so the wires will go through the original diffuser. Then once the stick-on diffuser lines up with the old diffuser, I'm going to take it back off, line up the marks, and then drill some holes so I can put some riv nuts in the original diffuser, so the stick-on diffuser has got something to bolt onto, as well as the tiger seal, which Mansory used before. The riv nuts are now in place. I've just got to use the gun to get them nice and flush, and then it's time for the tiger seal. And lots of it. It looked like Mansory used pretty much a full tub to hold this diffuser to the other diffuser, so I'm going to do exactly the same thing. Slide the wire through the hole that I've just drilled, and then stick on the stick-on diffuser to the original diffuser. How would you ever know? Then we can line the bolts in and bolt it all up. What does this fit like? You can see how far out the rear quarter's got to go now, can't you? I then wanted to test whether the kicky boot thing would actually open the boot.
That fits well good.
Do you know what? It fits actually alright.
That looks
It fits actually really nice.
That looks sick.
Yeah, it looks actually alright, doesn't it?
Yeah, that looks well good.
Oh my God, I'm just playing with them now, yeah. Oh my God, what she saying, say it loud, yeah. I can't respect it, I'm in the gym, but I am not flexing.
Look at that. What a weapon. It's looking pretty much nearly complete. The final few touches, including one last thing which we've not really addressed. Rear quarter. We've now got to fix that. Let's get it inside.
Shooting like Luke, I told him I'm next, shits. I got a ball, I told him I'm here, I'm not waiting for y'all. They hit my phone, but I ignored the call.
Now we know that the rear quarter is repairable, but what isn't repairable is the boot floor. You can see this here. So I've bought one from Rolls Royce themselves. But to fit this
it gets a little complicated. I've got to use my wire wheel to scrape off all of the seam sealer, and beneath that seam sealer we can see where the panels are joined on. So you can see now all of the little spot welds here that we've actually got to drill out to separate this back panel from this panel, and I think this goes all the way. Oh look, it goes all the way inside there, and we've got to drill out every single spot weld before we can get that here. So we've got a lot of work to get on with. But thanks so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button, hit that thumbs up button. I'll see you in the next video where hopefully we can get this finished. Peace out.
Wow.
All I know is that I'm repairing a broken wire that supplies power to something, and I think it's the thing that you put your kicky thing under and it opens a boot.
Upper class people, it's crazy, isn't it?
Like a drug that I just can't deny.